mall in Jerusalem, Israel. I have been searching for a location to actually come and worship and pray in that was kind of like this. Matter of fact, this is ideal perfect. But it wasn't until yesterday that I discovered that this was the best place. Now, I want you to imagine this. Here I am, 70 years old. I'm in Jerusalem in the midst of a war, and I'm trying to bring a message that really resonates with the world. It's not just for the country of Israel, not just for Jerusalem, but for everyone. You see, our lives are so much in a turmoil. The stress of life, finances, family, relationships are tearing us apart. And we don't even understand how to get a grip on things. It causes us to do things that really are not beneficial to us, to our health. I want you to think about this. There are several things that people do when they're stressed out. They don't know how to cope, and in today's society, we certainly do not have the ability to reach out to our neighbor and our friend and share our deepest concerns. We're isolated in our own little world, our own little cell phone world. Unfortunately, that cell phone world will never fulfill any of our desires. We don't know how to navigate the issues that are at hand. No one teaches us in the beginning in school how to deal with finances, and so we're impulsive and we go out and we spend when we shouldn't spend because we never think about tomorrow could be a very bleak time. I wasn't intending to record tonight. I've been in here just praying and getting accustomed to being in an environment open like this. So this is only the beginning. I thought it was interesting, the different people who came by to stand, and this is before the presence of the Lord even starts to come in here. Curiosity. But I want to talk to you about some things that are really eating us up, really horribly. You see, we go out and we try to find comfort. Our friends say, let's go get a drink. Let's go to a bar. Let's just hang out. Well, generally, hang out means intoxication of some form or another. So when we are stressed out, what we do is we reach for the bottle of alcohol or wine, whichever you prefer. And what you don't know is that you're being poisoned. Just today, a release of a report that came out that said that these absolute alcohol is causing cancers astronomically. And you know what was crazy about it? What was crazy about it, the biggest place where the cancer is hitting is Washington, D.C. And that doesn't surprise me because there's a lot of deals made in a bar or in a social gathering. And the least amount of cancer issues due to alcohol is in Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, I find that extremely interesting because Salt Lake City is the capital of the Mormon faith, Latter-day Saints, and they don't believe in drinking alcohol. So you can imagine looking at the perspective from the wicked DC to the interesting religious aspect is completely different. The episodes of cancer caused by alcohol has increased exponentially, double the time. And what's happening to our lives is that we are being sucked into a life that is bringing us heartache. You see, alcohol is a depressant. It does not lift your spirits except temporarily, and that's when you're starting to get a buzz on. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've never drank, so I really am only going by what I have heard countless number of people say. And then you go into a place that you've drank so much, you're doing things, you have no idea what you're doing. You are attacking people. You're committing crimes and things that are absolutely horrific. These are the activities that you're getting involved in. And because of the alcohol, it numbs your conscience and you don't even remember what you've done. Consequently, you might end up in jail because of drunk driving or DUI or a crime you committed under the influence. The government doesn't care how you end up there. They just want to snatch you so that they can make money on a daily basis for you. You won't see advertisements and big promotions against drinking because the majority of the world drinks. They're very heavy into that. So when we're looking at that, whenever you go out to try to numb what's got you all stressed out, you don't even think about the long-term effects of the alcohol, nor do you think about the fact you could be entrapped in this, into a place that you cannot break free. That's when you call it addiction. Now, there are certain properties in alcohol that are addictive, but one of the things that caught me very surprised was what the main ingredient in all alcohol is. And look it up. Go on Google Gemini. Look it up. The main ingredient is ethanol. Ethanol destroys your mind, destroys your body, destroys you as an individual, destroys your character. You've committed things that you don't even know you committed. You've done things you are shocked to hear that you've done because by your nature, it's not normally in a very wicked, destructive manner, but yet that's what's happening. You become very destructive. And when this takes on, you have to kind of put it in this perspective. There's a mask that has a happy and a sad face. When you go into drinking alcohol, you are actually invoking demonic spirits to possess you. And you put on a mask. And that mask, when it comes loose, you're surprised of all the things they told you did. Alcohol is one of the main products that destroys relationships. Mother-child, parent-child, marital, engaged. It destroys the family nucleus. Now, why is it that alcohol, which is supposed to be the stress reliever, only creates more stress? Think about it. Only creates more stress. Now, you've got the after effect of what happened the night before when they told you that you went and you beat somebody down, or that you pulled a gun, or that you terrorized someone. You've got the after effect of this, and it does not go away with just waking up. That conscience, you're going to begin to ask yourself, well, what was it that happened last night? And as your friends laugh and tell you what their rendition is, but you got to keep in mind, they also have been drinking, so they really don't know what you did. Of course, there's cameras all over in some facilities, and you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on. So in dealing with stress, the first thing people do is reach for a Budweiser, a wine, some other beverage that has to do with alcohol. And they think this is going to make them relaxed. The problem is it doesn't really relax you. It allows the demonic spirits to inhabit you, to take possession of you. And in taking possession of you, they take possession of your mind. That's why if you look at addictions in many ways are simply demonic possession with a new name, sugar-coated name. We're addicted. We won't walk around saying we're demonically possessed, now would we? Wouldn't that be like totally absurd? That would be ludicrous to say, I'm demon possessed, because people would run and scatter like a bunch of roaches when the light goes on. But that's not what happens. We engage in these things as a stress reliever. But what has caused the stress? In our educational system and in our family foundations, no one ever taught us some of the basic life skills that we desperately need in order to progress, in order to better our life. You would think if I spent 12 years plus in school that I would at least know how to manage my finances. Or even when I was in school, we had home ec. Home ec was a 6-month class, and we learned how to make biscuits. That's about all. I don't remember us making any more than that. The guys had shop. They could build a few things. But it was only 6 weeks, half a semester out of the entire high school years. So we're never prepared for life's issues. We don't know how we should act. We don't know how we should conduct ourselves. If we did, we wouldn't do what we're doing. Used to be, not many years ago, and probably still is, it's really cool to be gangsta. You're gonna be gangsta. And if you're gangsta, man, you are bad. I wouldn't go around with a gangsta on my shirt and saying I'm bad. That's supposed to mean really cool. But really, it's acting out. That's what that's about. So we're not taught in our educational system. We're not instructed on how to do these things. And we go through 12 years of redundant stupidity where we're never taught how to deal with everyday life in relationships. Now, bad relationships means you've got a medical problem. You could have a psychological problem. You need to see a psychiatrist. But keep in mind, the psychiatrist, where did he get his information from? Well, depending how far you go back, he got it from talking to the dead, necromancy. And in talking to the dead, he developed ways to keep you tied down, to make sure that you don't function, to make sure that you are still in bondage, because you see, he makes money after each visit that you schedule. And I say he in gender, it can be any individual who's in that field. I wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to help people. And every time I went to go line up in that profession, it just blew up in my face and I didn't get to proceed. Only to find out much later that Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Edward Bernays, and all these people were in bondage themselves by all of the ludicrous, insane things that they did in order to keep you in bondage. Now, how many people do you know have gone to psychologists for years, psychiatrists for years, and have never been able to solve their problems? This is just an opening of what I'm telling you. We've got to learn how to deal with stress, and I'm going to teach you how to deal with it. The other thing that I want you to do is realize that we can point and look down upon those that drink, those that smoke, and those that do drugs. But we need to look at the core issues. Why? Because no one bothered to teach them how to navigate this life. I hope this little word and tidbit resonates with you, and you stop and think about other ways to relieve stress. And it's not by drinking, not by smoking or doing drugs or even smoking weed. That's not the way that you deal with stress. I'll be addressing those in the days ahead. You know, I can say this is a great deal of stress to come into this building, although it's empty, except for a few places open in the late of this hour. But I'm still having to navigate through my comfort zone. I'm not used to being out here playing music and praying for people to see me. But that's okay. I'll get it down. I know I will. Meanwhile, what I want you to do to start as your foundation, we can always say pray about it. And I'm going to be the first to tell you that that's a really not a good idea. Now, I guess you say, why do you say it's not a good idea? When I was growing up through all these things that I went through, they'd always say, pray about it. And I think, what do you think I'm doing? Sometimes I need some sound advice. I need some direction. I need somebody to elaborate on how I should navigate the issue that I'm dealing with. But nobody would do that because nobody knew how to do it. Nobody knew how to give the advice. So I strongly suggest that you find a person that you can put your confidence in, you trust, and can talk to about anything that you feel is on your mind and on your heart. The problem is, don't immediately start making those connections with just anyone. First, look at their character. Look at how they live. Look at their lifestyles. See how they navigate through situations. And when you do, then begin to test them. Test them by seeing if they're going to lie to you. Seeing if they're going to tell you that's a beautiful shirt when it's really not, you know it. See what they're going to do to try to manipulate your emotions. Don't get so tied up in finding that friend that you can't see those that are right here around you. Yes, you may have to have friends that are long distance and communicate through modern technology. And that's great. I have the same thing. I have family across three countries. And I have to say, sometimes the only way I can communicate them is through the phone. So the thing I want to point out clearly to you, I'm not neglecting or I'm not saying prayer is not the key. My greatest strength comes from my communication with God, and that's talking to Him like I'm talking to you right now. I can't pray a specific prayer. I can't go through a specific dynamic. I can just talk to Him. I said to the Lord, you brought me here to Jerusalem for a reason. And I trust that reason. And I believe so strongly that I will fulfill the request that you have brought to me. But in the midst of it, as my time winds down, let me do everything within my power and within my strength to do what you've commissioned me to do. And that's to pray for the people from every walk of life, from every background and every situation. So, as I said, this is July the 21st, 2025, although I didn't give you that in this dialogue or this video. I want you to know that now. There is something going on, and it's going to happen even in the days and hours ahead of us. And I want you to be able to embrace how to navigate through the stress and how to live your life. Find the good things. Find the amazing things. I have to draw on scripture that I've known for many years. It said, whatsoever things are good, lovely, pure, of good report, lists a number of things. It says, think on these things. And that's what you want to do. Don't let your mind get built up with triggering some kind of negative response. But think on the things that are good, that are right and just before God. This is how you begin to be acquainted with the mind of God. I hope in this conversation that you can see how hard it can be. Imagine being here in Jerusalem. In any given second, there's going to come bombardment. There's going to come apps that tell us that we're being attacked. We don't have any idea what's going to happen. But we know we live on that powder cake. And all of the people in Israel have lived in that for over 2 years. But it doesn't seem to affect anybody as far as the leadership. You would think the resolve would come quickly. But they make more money if they don't resolve the problem. You see, just like the psychiatrist makes more money if he doesn't give you the end result of how to cope with an issue, so does the government. The government has an end agenda, but he doesn't care about the stress we're living in. We could be in our apartment, and any given second, hour, any time of day, we receive alarms. In our app, we have several different ones, and some will say that there's a possibility it can be hitting any number of areas. And we have sat on the balcony, and we have watched those rockets come across the sky. I don't fear because I know who I serve. But I do have a great concern for all of those who don't know Him as I do. So, stress, yeah, we've got it here in every imaginable. Jerusalem's economy is built on a lot of commercialism, tourism. Tourists aren't coming through. Businessmen are struggling with finances. Beggars are in the street. And someone says, oh, that's just prophecy. No, that's reality. You can give me all the prophecy in the world you want to, and I'm going to tell you straight up, that's not true. If there was a prophecy, there would be a resolve. God would not say something's coming that He wouldn't tell you how to cope with it. So keep in mind, these are issues that we're going to all face, whether we're in the United States, where we were promised that with a new president, we were going to see the economy change. Has anybody seen that yet? I'm still looking over the horizon. I haven't seen it. I see finances even bleak. Costs are rising. People have no idea how to cope with these things. So I would say a great deal is happening. And I don't want somebody to tell me, oh, it's the end time. I've heard that for 55 years. That's not what's going on. Wickedness is running rampant and crazy, and all it wants to do is seek and destroy anything that's pure and anyone who loves God. Take this message to heart and understand we have a responsibility, regardless of whether we're here in Jerusalem, in Cyprus, in Mexico, in the United States, across the globe. We have a responsibility, and that's to uphold his name and his righteousness. Now, at times you can't start to pray when things start going crazy. Prayer is not the easiest thing to do when you're all stressed out. But when you begin to talk to somebody, a close confidant, a friend, and you can share with them your tears and your joy and the experiences of life, and you know they're not going to violate that. How precious. There have been people who have come in my life and they have left. It's broke my heart when they've left. But they were only there for a season and for a reason. And that reason had been fulfilled. It was time for them to move on. We must unite and do what God asks us to do. So, in that note, find that confidant. Even if they're thousands of miles away, find that special someone. And once you pour your heart out to them, you'll find it so much easier to pour your heart out to God. Because you just don't think God hears you. You just don't think God answers. You just haven't seen a resolve to your issues. That doesn't mean God doesn't know. Keep in mind, he does know, and he does care. Thank you for watching. Shabbat Shalom.